Now, the bad news is, it's going to take me a little while before I'm up to stage performance level because some of the meds and treatments make me a little bit swimmy-headed, as my grandma used to say.
The woman who built an empire on rhinestones and resilience just sat down in front of a camera and admitted something she has never admitted before in 60 years of stardom. Her body is breaking down, the medicine is making her dizzy, and the stage she promised to return to is now slipping further out of reach. What she said next about plastic surgeons, internal medicine, and the doctors at Vanderbilt is the part nobody saw coming. The confession heard around the world. On a quiet morning in early May of 2026, Dolly Parton turned on her phone camera, settled into her chair at her Nashville home, and recorded a video that would travel across every news desk in America before lunch. She was 80 years old, dressed in her signature glam, and smiling, the way she always smiles when she is about to deliver bad news softly. She told her followers she had good news and a little bad news, and the way she paused before saying the word bad let everyone watching know that the balance between the two was not 50-50. The good news, she said, was that she was responding well to her medications and her treatments. The bad news was that it would take a while before she could stand on a stage again, because the medicine was making her swimmy-headed, the way her grandmother used to put it. She joked about not being able to dance in 5-inch heels while feeling dizzy, joked about her heavy rhinestone outfits and her big hair, and used humor the way she has always used it, as a curtain pulled across something heavier underneath. Then she said the line that stopped people scrolling. She said, "Plastic surgeons can make you look as good as they can on the outside, but it becomes serious business when you are talking about internal medicine." She is the woman who has joked about her cosmetic procedures for 50 years, and now she is drawing a clear line between the surface she has always controlled and the body underneath that she cannot. The doctors had assured her, she said, that everything she had was treatable. She was going with that. But the residency in Las Vegas that fans had bought tickets for, the one she had already pushed from December to September, was not just postponed anymore. It was canceled. What she did not explain in that video was how she got here. And that story stretches back much further than anyone realized. A year of firsts she could not outrun. Then, Dolly turned to the topic she had been avoiding in public for months. She told her fans they had been so kind to her and to Carl, and she thanked them for that. Then she said something that revealed how much of the past year she had been quietly carrying. She said she had gone through a year of firsts, and she counted them out loud. The first holidays without him, their wedding anniversary. The day of his death was the 3rd of March. She said that day was hard for her in a way she had not expected. Carl Dean had been her husband for 58 years and 9 months when he passed away in early 2025 at the age of 82. They were less than 90 days away from their 59th anniversary. They had met outside a laundromat in Nashville in 1964, on the very day she arrived in the city, and they had married 2 years later in a tiny ceremony in Georgia with only her mother present. He had spent the next 6 decades almost entirely out of the public eye by his own choice, while she became one of the most famous women in the world. He preferred his barn, his farm, and her company, and that was the entire shape of their private life. When he died, she released a statement that was short and beautiful, and 3 days later she released a follow-up that she called a love note to family, friends, and fans. 4 days after that, she released a song she had written for him called "If You Hadn't Been There." The lyrics were simple, and the melody was quiet, and most fans did not realize at the time that it would be one of the last completed songs she would manage to write for a long while. In the months that followed, Dolly told interviewer after interviewer that something had shifted inside her creatively. She told Khloe Kardashian on her podcast in the middle of summer that she kept starting beautiful ideas and could not finish them. She said she could not afford the luxury of getting that emotional right now. She said she would write again later, but not yet. For the most prolific songwriter in country music history, a woman who has written more than 3,000 songs, the inability to finish anything was the loudest signal in the room. And while her friends and her sisters watched her stay busy and stay smiling, something else was happening in the background that nobody talked about until it forced its way into the open. The sister who could not stay silent. In the early evening of the 7th of October in 2025, Dolly's younger sister, Frida Parton, sat down at her computer and wrote a Facebook post that would set off a global panic. Frida said she had been up all night praying for her sister, that Dolly had not been feeling her best lately, and that she was asking the entire world that loved her to become prayer warriors and pray alongside her. She ended the post with the words, "Godspeed, my sissy Dolly," and within a few hours, the words "Dolly Parton dying" were trending in countries Dolly had never even visited. The message spread rapidly across social media platforms, amplified by worried fans and sensational headlines. People began speculating, sharing memories, and even posting premature tributes, unsure of what was actually happening, but gripped by fear. Within the same evening, Frida realized what she had done and walked the post back. She said she had not meant to scare anyone, that she had not meant for it to sound so serious, that she was just a little sister asking for prayers for her big sister. She explained that her emotions had gotten the better of her and that her intentions came from love, not alarm. But the damage was done, the screenshots were already circulating, and by the next morning, a different sister had to step in. The internet, once ignited, was not easily calmed, and speculation continued to grow despite her attempt to correct the narrative. Stella Parton, the older and more outspoken of the siblings, posted on her own social media account with visible irritation. She told fans who had genuine concern for Dolly that her big sister had already shared the truth in a video the previous week, that she was dealing with kidney stones and getting treatment, and that Frida was simply the kind of sister who worries out loud whenever any of her siblings is unwell. Stella emphasized that the situation, while uncomfortable, was not life-threatening. Then Stella turned her attention to fans who had been attacking her for not providing constant updates, and she told them clearly that she was not their personal information center and that her sister would share what she chose to share when she chose to share it. The tension between the sisters was unusual to see in public, and it told fans everything they needed to know about how stressful the previous weeks had been inside that family. Then came the artificial intelligence pictures. Someone had generated fake photographs that appeared to show Dolly lying in a hospital bed with Reba McEntire sitting beside her. And those images had been shared widely enough that Dolly herself decided to address them on camera the very next day. The day she said, "I ain't dead yet." On the 8th of October in 2025, Dolly was already on a soundstage filming commercials for the Grand Ole Opry when she decided to use the moment to settle the noise. She turned on a camera, looked straight into it in full glam and full energy, and asked her fans a single question. She asked them whether she looked sick to them. She told them she was working hard right where she was. Then she told them plainly that she was not dying. She referenced the artificial intelligence picture by name and she made fun of it, the only way Dolly Parton knows how to make fun of anything. She said that if she really were dying, she did not think Reba would be the one sitting at her deathbed. She said Reba might come visit her earlier than that, but not at the very end. And then she said the line that became the headline. She said she was not ready to die yet, that she did not think God was through with her, and that she was not done working. She also revealed something she had not said publicly before. She said her treatments had been happening closer to Vanderbilt. That single word changed the conversation for anyone paying attention to medical details, because Vanderbilt University Medical Center is a major academic teaching hospital, and people do not generally travel to academic teaching hospitals for routine kidney stones. The fact that she mentioned the name suggested that the workup was more complicated than her public statements had let on, and her own description of an immune system and digestive system that had been out of whack for 2 or 3 years suggested that this was not a sudden problem at all. This had been building for a long time. Reba McEntire posted her own video reply the next day, looking into the camera and telling Dolly that the artificial intelligence mess had everyone doing all kinds of crazy things. She said Dolly was supposed to be out there dying, while she was supposed to be out here having a baby, and that both of them knew Dolly was too young and Reba was too old for any of that nonsense. The two stars made a joke of it together. The country music world breathed out, and the public moved on. But the empty seats Dolly was about to leave behind would tell a different story. On the 16th of November in 2025, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences held its 16th Annual Governors Awards in Hollywood, where Dolly was scheduled to receive the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award. This is one of the highest honors the film industry gives, and it is not given to people in passing. Lily Tomlin, her co-star from 9 to 5, accepted the award on her behalf. Dolly appeared only by pre-recorded video, telling the room she sure wished she could be there in person, that they had probably heard she had been dealing with a few health challenges, and that she was thanking them from her heart. The very next day, on the 17th of November, she missed another major moment. The International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions inducted her into its Hall of Fame in Orlando, making her the second woman ever to be inducted on her own and only the fourth in the entire 100-year history of that organization. She was not there. Once again, she sent a pre-recorded message thanking the room and saying her doctors had told her to take it easy for a little while. Around the same time, People magazine put her on the cover with the headline that she ain't got time to get old. Inside, she told the magazine that she felt like she was just getting started, that if you allowed yourself to get old, you would, and that she refused to dwell on the number 80. A source close to her told the same magazine she was getting better every day, that she was at home taking care of herself, and that, in true Dolly spirit, she had already started decorating for the holidays. It was the kind of optimistic source quote that magazines love to print, and yet behind it, the empty chairs at her own award ceremonies were still warm. She turned 80 in the middle of January, and the state of Tennessee declared that day Dolly Parton Day. The Grand Ole Opry hosted a tribute show called Opry Goes Dolly with Vince Gill, Lainey Wilson, and Rhonda Vincent. She released a new version of her song Light of a Clear Blue Morning, featuring Reba, Miley Cyrus, Lainey Wilson, and Queen Latifah, with all of the proceeds going to pediatric cancer research at the very same Vanderbilt complex that was treating her. And in late February, the East Tennessee Children's Hospital in Knoxville officially renamed itself the Dolly Parton Children's Hospital. Almost every one of these events would have, in another era, been the kind of triumphant moment a singer plans her year around. She watched all of them happen from a distance. While her body has been forcing her off stage, Her business has been moving in the opposite direction at full speed, and the size of what she is trying to keep alive is staggering. In downtown Nashville, on Commerce Street, a brand new hotel called the Songteller Hotel is preparing to open its doors in June of 2026. It will have 245 rooms, themed acoustic suites, a giant 2-story Songteller suite, and 2 music venues called Parton's Live and Jolene's. Attached to it will be a brand new museum called Dolly's Life of Many Colors, occupying more than 20,000 square feet and described as the largest exhibit ever built about her life. Up in the Smoky Mountains, Dollywood has been preparing to open its largest single attraction investment in park history. The ride is called Night Flight Expedition. It cost more than $50 million to build, fills 44,000 square feet across 3 stories, holds 500,000 gallons of water, and is the world's first indoor family hybrid coaster combining whitewater raft elements, dark ride storytelling, and amphibious aircraft theming. It is scheduled to open in the spring of this year inside the Wildwood Grove section of the park, and it has already won a Golden Ticket Award for Best New Innovation. On top of all of this sits her Imagination Library, which, as of March of this year, had gifted more than 314 million books to children across 5 countries and is now sending 3.4 million books to children every single month. There is also Dolly Beauty, Dolly Wines, a 3rd Jolene's denim collection with Good American, a Kendra Scott collaboration, a Duncan Hines collaboration, and the Pirates Voyage dinner show running in 3 states. A tabloid insider quote that has been picked up by major outlets says her own friends are worried she is going to work herself into the ground, and the volume of what is on her calendar makes that fear feel less like tabloid noise and more like simple math. What she is really telling us? When you put the timeline next to the words she has actually used about herself, a different picture begins to emerge from the one her press releases want to paint. In her May video, Dolly admitted that back when Carl was very sick, which she said had been for a long time, and then when he passed, she did not take care of herself. That is the kind of sentence celebrities only say when the alternative is silence. It quietly confirms that her medical decline began before March of 2025, that grief and exhaustion ran on parallel tracks for years, and that the kidney stones the public has been told about are part of the iceberg above the water. In March of this year, she opened the 41st season at Dollywood with what was supposed to be a triumphant return to public life. During that appearance, she made a joke that has not stopped echoing since. She said she thought Carl Dean was waiting for her on the other side, and that if she showed up at the pearly gates with anybody else, he would not like that. She delivered it as a punchline. She has been delivering nearly everything as a punchline her whole career. But the line was not really a joke, and the audience could feel it. Her goddaughter Miley Cyrus, who has known her since childhood, was asked about her health at a movie premiere late last year and said simply that the show must go on and that Dolly was excited to get back to work. Reba kept things light on social media. Lily Tomlin showed up to accept her Oscar. And underneath all of that, the most prolific songwriter in country music history sat in her Nashville home unable to finish a song. Her Broadway show is a project she said out loud she wanted to oversee while she was still alive. Her hospital now bears her name. The tribute single is dedicated to a hospital wing. The honors are stacking up faster than she can attend them. The question that nobody quite wants to ask out loud is what happens when the most relentlessly productive woman in American entertainment finally meets a body that cannot keep up with her schedule. The empire does not slow down. The calendar does not slow down. The fans do not slow down. But the woman who built all of it is sitting at home with medicine in her system that makes her too dizzy to wear her own shoes, grieving a husband she misses every single day, and quietly admitting that the engine inside the classic car needs to be rebuilt. What do you think is really going on with Dolly Parton? And do you believe she will make it back to the stage the way she keeps promising? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.